All right, so today we're diving into something pretty interesting, a press release, actually, dated March 24th, 2025.
Okay.
It's all about this $3 million non-recourse factoring facility. Sounds kind of complicated, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
But stick with us. We're going to break it all down. Versant Funding, they're the ones who provided this facility to a Housewares company, the kind that designs and sells stuff we all use every day.
Right.
So our mission here is to really understand what this transaction actually means, why it matters, and especially what it might mean for you.
Absolutely. I think this deal really shines a light on the ways businesses can, get the funding they need to grow, especially in a sometimes tricky financial landscape.
For sure, for sure. And this particular Housewares business, they distribute their products through those big grocery chains and retail stores. So we're talking potentially huge orders, right?
Huge, yeah, but that also often comes with longer payment terms, which means, they might have a ton of sales on paper, but not enough cash on hand to actually fulfill those orders.
Right. Exactly. And that seems to be precisely the challenge this company was facing. The press release even mentions that their previous factoring company, they had all these funding restrictions in place.
Interesting.
Can you imagine that? Having all these sales lined up, but not the cash flow to meet the demand, just stuck.
Oh, a total bottleneck, yeah. I mean, that's a recipe for missed opportunities, for sure.
Absolutely. So that's where Versant Funding steps in, right? They basically gave this company an advance on all their outstanding accounts receivable. In simpler terms, they essentially fronted them the money those retailers were going to pay anyway, just, sooner.
Right. Like a cash advance, but for businesses.
Yeah, exactly. And get this, they didn't stop there. They also paid off and consolidated this business's other existing loans. I mean, talk about a financial clean slate.
Yeah, streamlining everything, getting rid of that debt. That can be huge for a business trying to get back on track.
Totally. Now, there's this one quote from Chris Lehnes at Versant that I think really gets to the heart of it.
Oh, yeah. What'd he say?
Well, he said their factoring program was, and I'm quoting here, a great match for this business that was continuing its recovery from pandemic-era disruptions.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right. Like it kind of hints that traditional funding, maybe bank loans or something, might have been a little harder to come by after, all the economic ups and downs we've seen recently.
Oh, precisely. Businesses, especially in sectors hit hard by the pandemic, they might not tick all the boxes for those traditional loans.
And that's where these alternative solutions like factoring can really step in and fill that gap.
Absolutely. Now, there's another point Lehnes made that I think is worth highlighting. He talked about how Versant focuses solely on the quality of accounts receivable without imposing customer concentration limits. That's a key difference.
Okay, break that down for me. What does that even mean?
Well, think about it. A traditional lender might get nervous if, say, 80% of a company's revenue comes from just 2 or 3 big clients.
Too many eggs in one basket kind of thing.
Exactly. But Versant's approach, it sidesteps that concern completely.
So as long as those companies owing the money, those big retailers in this case, as long as they have good credit and are likely to pay their invoices, then Versant's good to go.
Basically, yeah. And that can be a major advantage for certain businesses, especially those with, a few key but very reliable customers.
It's like they're saying, hey, we trust your customers, so we trust you.
Right, and they're backing it up with this non-recourse factoring.
Right. Now, I gotta admit, non-recourse still sounds a bit jargony to me. Can we simplify that?
Sure. Basically, it means Versant is taking on more of the risk. If, for some reason, those approved invoices don't get paid, because, let's say, the customer goes bankrupt, well, Versant's the one left holding the bag, not the Housewares company.
So for this particular deal, even if, say, a big chunk of this Housewares company's sales were going to just 2 or 3 major grocery chains, as long as those chains had excellent credit, Versant was comfortable offering this $3 million facility.
That's right. They look at those invoices, they see reliable payers, and they're willing to provide the funding.
Gotcha. So zooming out a bit, looking at the bigger picture, I think what we're seeing here is how important these specialized financial tools can be for businesses, especially those facing unique challenges like recovering from a pandemic or just navigating a tough economic environment.
100%.
Right.
They provide options when traditional avenues might be, let's say, less welcoming.
Right, exactly. And this, allows these businesses to keep operating, maybe even grow and expand, regardless of the broader economic climate.
It's all about having the right tools for the job.
Okay, so let's sum this up for our listeners. The big takeaway here is that Versant Funding, they gave this housewares distributor some much-needed breathing room, financially speaking, by basically leveraging the value of their future payments. This allowed them to break free from those funding restrictions and even clean up their debt. And a big part of why Versant was able to do this was their focus on, the creditworthiness of the housewares company's customers, not just arbitrary limits on who those customers were.
Right, and I think the real aha moment for our listeners is that alternative financing solutions, with their unique approach and focus, they can be absolutely vital when traditional avenues might not be the best fit.
I think that's a great point, and it sort of leads us to a thought I want to leave you with. Given, all the challenges this housewares distributor faced, especially coming out of the pandemic, what other innovative financial tools might be out there that businesses can and should explore? Tools that can help them become more resilient and adapt to whatever, the future throws their way. And how does this whole idea of focusing on the quality of essentially who owes you money, how does that compare to the broader financial assessments that traditional lenders often use? Does it create specific opportunities for certain types of businesses? I think that's something worth pondering.
Definitely worth thinking about.